This video is for Lesson 5-1. We will be working with checking accounts. We will record a deposit on a check stub. We will endorse checks using blank, special, and restrictive endorsements, and we will also prepare a check stub and a check. In accounting, money is usually referred to as cash. Most businesses make major cash payments by check. However, small cash payments for items such as postage and some supplies may be made from a cash fund kept at the place of a business. That is known as petty cash, and it's something that we learn how to use in the 4th section of this chapter. Because cash transactions occur more frequently than other types of transactions, more chances occur to make recording errors affecting cash. Cash can be transferred from one person to another without any question about ownership. Also, cash may be lost as it is moved from one place to another. So as a safety measure, businesses will typically keep their money in a bank. Because all cash receipts are placed in a bank, the business will have written evidence to support its accounting records. The business can compare its records of checks written with the bank's record of checks paid. Greater control of a business's cash and greater accuracy of its cash records results from these procedures. A business form ordering a bank to pay cash from a bank account is known as a check. A bank account from which payments can be ordered by a depositor is called a checking account. When a checking account is open, the bank customer must provide a signature on a signature card for the bank records. If several persons are authorized to sign checks, each person's signature must be on the signature card. A bank form which lists the checks, currency, and coins on an account holder is adding to the bank account is called a deposit slip. A bank customer prepares a deposit slip each time cash or checks are deposited into the bank account. Here is an example of a deposit slip. You would list the date and then you would list any currency, so you would add up all the dollar bills that you have. You could also then add up all of your coins that you have and put the total on the lines. And then they have one check that they are depositing for $2,000. These are provided by the bank. Sometimes there's different systems that you can use, like at Wells Fargo where I used to bank. I would swipe my debit card before I made a deposit, and I did not need to fill out a deposit slip. However, if you're a business and you're going to be depositing large amounts of cash, you will be recording some type of deposit slip to go ahead and check and make sure that what you added for your total is the same as what the bank is going to get. After the deposit is recorded on the check stub, a checkbook subtotal is calculated. So once we make a deposit with the bank, we will record this on our check stub. We will write the balance brought forward on the check stub, which for this one was 0 because they're just opening up their checking account. We would put the amount deposited, we would write the date, and then the amount $2,000, and then we would put the subtotal, which was also $2,000. So the amount deposited plus 0 will equal 2,000. Ownership of a check can be transferred, the name of the first owner stated on a check followed by the words paid to the order of. Therefore, the person to whom payment is to be made must indicate that ownership of the check is being transferred. One person transfers ownership to another person by signing on the back of a check. A signature or stamp on the back of a check transferring ownership is called an endorsement. Federal regulations require that an endorsement be confined to a limited amount of space that is indicated on the back of a check. An endorsement should be signed exactly as the person's name appears on the front of the check. An ownership of a check might be transferred several times, resulting in several endorsements. Each endorser guarantees payment of the check. If a bank does not receive payment from the person who signed the check, each endorser is individually liable for payment. And there are 3 types of endorsement that we use: blank, special, and restrictive. Blank endorsement consists of only the endorser's signature, such as Michael Delgado on the back of this check stub here. If a check with a blank endorsement is lost or stolen, the check can be cashed by anyone who has possession of it. Ownership may be transferred without further endorsement. A blank endorsement should be used only when the person is at the bank ready to cash or deposit a check. So if you have a check and you're going to deposit it, do not sign the back with just your name until you are at the bank ready to give them your check to deposit it in your account. An endorsement indicating a new owner of a check is called a special endorsement. Special endorsements are sometimes known as endorsements in full. They will include the words paid to the order of and the name of the new check owner. Only the person or business named in special endorsement can cash, deposit, or further transfer ownership of the check. The original owner of the check also signed his or her name under the new owner of the check. So this one here is from Michael Delgado. He is transferring the ownership of this check to Helen Goldsmith. So he would write paid to the order of Helen Goldsmith, and then he would sign his own name underneath it. An endorsement restricting further transfer of a check's ownership is called a restrictive endorsement. Depositing a check at a bank account is a common use of a restrictive endorsement. This will limit the use of a check to whatever purpose is stated in the endorsement. Now, many businesses have a stamp prepared with a restrictive endorsement. When a check is received, it is immediately stamped with the restrictive endorsement. This prevents unauthorized persons from cashing the check if it is lost or stolen. When you write a check, the first thing you want to do is prepare your check stub, or record it in your check register depending on what you're using. Typically, businesses will have checks that look like this. So the check stub is on the left side. You will fill in the amount of the check, the date, who it is going to, and then what it is for. Here you would record your balance brought forward from your previous check, but this is the first check, so the amount brought forward was 0, and we had recorded that $2,000 deposit. You will then put your subtotal. Sometimes there may be like a bank service charge that's taken out, which we will get to later in this chapter. You would then record the amount this check, which was $165, and then calculate your balance carried forward, which will be your balance brought forward on your next check. After you have completed your check stub, you will write your check. You can write the date the check is issued. You will then write to whom the check is being paid, which is Eastside Supplies. Write the amount in figures, so 165, period, 00. And then you will have to write the amount written out in words. You want to go ahead and draw a line from the end where you end. So this one says no over 100. You want to draw a line all the way over to dollars, so that way nobody else could add anything else in that line. And then we want to write the purpose of the check, so what it is for. This one is for supplies. Some checks, the space might be labeled memo as well. And then the last thing you will want to do is sign the check. Banks usually refuse to accept altered checks. If any kind of error is made in preparing a check, a new check should be prepared. Because checks are pre-numbered, all checks not used should be retained for the records. This practice helps account for all checks and assures that no checks have been lost or stolen. A check that cannot be processed because the marker has made it invalid is called a voided check. The word void is written in large letters across both the check and its stub. When we record this in our journal, we will put in the date. We will write the word void in the account title, put in the check number. We're also going to put a check mark in for the post reference because there's nothing here to post. And then we will place a dash in the credit column for cash. This is going to help ensure that all check numbers are listed in the journal. If we voided a check and didn't record it in our journal, we would think that we forgot to record it and put in our cash amount. So it's just going to help ease up any confusion that we may have. Because we can make lots of mistakes with checks. If I go back to my check here, for example, banks maybe will not accept your check if the dollar amount and the written out dollar amount do not match. They also will not accept a check if the date is incorrect. So say the date's made for a future date, or one time I received the check where they forgot to put in the date and the bank would not take it. So there's lots of mistakes that can be made where you may need to void your check.